I have been living, breathing, eating, pulling to the side and getting all up in Brat. The bratification of the online space and social media due to Charli XCX's new album and her announcement that Kamala is Brat has had a crazy positive impact, and I want to really explore how we can all embrace this in our day-to-day lives and ultimately the workplace. Hey there, fellow STEM femmes. Welcome to Building Her Way, a podcast created to empower underrepresented groups working in male-dominated industries to break down barriers and challenge the status quo as we work towards creating a more inclusive and equitable future. My name is Monique Elizabeth, an Environment and Sustainability Manager in the construction industry with a Bachelor of Civil and Environmental Engineering, and I can't wait to share some of my thoughts and experiences on today's topic. I also highly encourage everyone to share your thoughts in the comments below if you're watching on YouTube. I saw a TikTok the other day that mentioned how it feels like we've stepped into this alternate timeline the day that Biden stepped down as the running candidate for president, and I honestly can't agree more. I've been consuming a lot of content, specifically on TikTok, and I was finding that every time I would come off of social media, I would be feeling a bit shit. Like there was no hope and everything was doomed because I was being fed all this misogynistic red pill content or negative experiences of other women and their concerns about the future. Like we've all heard the man versus bear thing. And I noticed that it was seeping into my attitude towards work and my goals of creating a safe, productive, inclusive space for women. But lately, all the Kamala content that's showing up on my feed, along with all the Brat-fueled content, has transformed social media into a much more positive experience that's a lot more motivating as well, specifically as a woman. So this has inspired today's video where I will discuss how some of the motifs in Brat align with the challenges faced by women in male-dominated industries, the music industry obviously being one of those, the importance of supporting other women and what that really means, a mini deep dive into the song Girls So Confusing and how it highlights the impact of our mindset and perceptions, specifically when you're not surrounded by other women. Just how insanely important personal growth and reflection is, which is actively demonstrated by our girl Charli. And lastly, using online media and movements to foster inclusivity and empowerment, both in personal spaces as well as workplaces. Just a quick disclaimer, I won't have a chance to mention every song and every piece of lore associated with the album because I'm really just focusing on the aspects that reveal more of the female experience relative to male-dominated industries. Challenges faced by women in male-dominated industries. Women in male-dominated industries often encounter traditional and restrictive expectations about how they should behave or what roles they should fill. Straight off the bat, Charli challenges the outdated norms of the music industry through her choice in album art, with the neon green background and blurry Arial font, making a statement of rebellion and nonconformity, especially when compared to some of her previous albums. Charli discusses the art choice in her interview with Billboard, and it's really interesting hearing her talk about intentionally creating something that is just so hideous, but you know that a lot of people are going to be looking at. And it just sparking so much discussion with people writing these critiques about how they absolutely hate it, or they're writing essays about how fantastic it is. It's really great commentary and makes you think, like, why do we care so much? Which is just so transferable to so much in life these days. It's quite difficult as well in male-dominated industries to gain the confidence to speak up, whether it's asking someone to get something done or call someone out for treating yourself or others inappropriately. During my time as an environmental advisor, I've had numerous situations where I've struggled to feel comfortable being authoritative in asking for exactly what I require from labourers, for example, installing erosion and sediment controls, and B, get them to prioritise the work and do it properly. I've seen the way people in construction value the need for environmental controls improve over the years. There's also been an improvement in the way women are included on site, and also just the nature of discussions or the boy chat has definitely gotten better. But depending on where you work and who you work with, your experiences are going to be better or worse than my own. So just an example, there's a new safety coordinator on a project that I've previously worked on. And look, she's pretty ruthless with the way she identifies safety issues and the way she's holding the team accountable. And they do not like that. As a result, conversations are starting to be had to try and belittle her and substantiate the reason that there are so many issues being raised is actually because of her and not because they aren't complying with our safety requirements. Now, a lot of the items may be considered small, but at the end of the day, she is doing her job and doing it well. If she was a man, would they be responding in the same way? My assumption would be no, but I'm happy to be debated on that. So when you have these experiences and it feels like it's a constant battle to get the guys on your side, to have more authority and respect, you can get a bit caught up in chasing that, mainly because it makes your job easier. I know I've done this in the past and I've seen other women do this too. The problem with this is you can get caught up in just going along with certain conversations or jokes because you don't want to risk jeopardizing these relationships that you've worked so hard to build and risk making your job more difficult. So many songs on the album reflect these themes of struggling and resilience in different ways, dealing with personal battles and overcoming obstacles. I might say something stupid. The lyrics in that song, "'Cause I don't know if I belong here anymore," hit pretty hard on that imposter syndrome chord that so many of us feel and the struggles of trying to fit in a male-dominated industry. These tracks that address overcoming adversity and maintaining strength are becoming such anthems for women navigating the complexities of their careers as well as personal growth. Before we go any further, I just wanted to take a moment to appreciate my hair. Charlie has inspired me to wear it naturally. I saw some photos of her with all her hair out and everything just all voluminous, and I was like, damn, I can do that. So thank you, Charlie. But on to the next topic, the importance of supporting other women. Let's start off asking the question, what is Brat? So Charlie herself said that this means that you're a girl who's a bit messy, loves to party, maybe says dumb things sometimes. She's honest, blunt, a little bit volatile. That's Brat. I would argue that the safety coordinator that I mentioned earlier is Brat. And a lot more of us should embrace this energy when advocating for what we're passionate about and specifically supporting other women. There's been a lot of discussion over the last few years about women supporting women, pick-me's, and being a girl's girl, which has come with a lot of conflicting information and opinions about what all these titles actually mean. In some cases, the requirements of being a girl's girl have become so strict that people claiming to be a girl's girl are actually doing the opposite. Charlie XCX has said, if you don't like all other women who exist and breathe on this earth, then you're a bad feminist. If you're not a girl's girl, then you're a bad woman. And I think that's just her trying to explain the narrative around this supporting women concept at the moment. I know I've struggled with this concept a lot and relate to this quote so much. As a reformed pick-me, I'm also very self-conscious in ensuring that I am constantly supporting and advocating for the women around me, which becomes quite challenging when you have other female colleagues who are difficult to work with for whatever reason. I currently am working with someone who is testing my patience, and I have been so supportive and patient and given her all the resources for us to get along and for her to succeed. But I'm always just met with this rude and abrasive, dismissive attitude, and I don't know what to do. I want to be a girl's girl and I want to support her, but I don't know if I can. I've also found that male-dominated industries are quite often pursued by women who are or were pick-me's or are pick-me adjacent, which makes sense. Like, what better way to be one of the boys and have the validation of saying, I'm not like the other girls, than working in a male-dominated industry. I also saw a TikTok by Lex the Electrician. If you don't know her, check it out. She also identifies that a lot of women in the industry were pushed hard to overachieve when they were growing up, and which I also relate to and very much agree with. This sets the tone for the way women within the industry interact with each other and the way we feel like we need to compete with each other rather than support each other. I like to get my nails done. They're a bit shit at the moment, but I do. And depending on my mood, I like to do my makeup for work as well, which doesn't seem too crazy. Well, try telling that to the 50-year-old construction workers and pick-me's trying to get the approval of their peers. Be careful, you might break a nail. You're not afraid of a bit of dirt, are you? Calling these people out, even if they are other women, does not go against women supporting women. If you feel it could be impactful, you could reach out to the women partaking in this rhetoric to explain how the behavior just isn't really suitable and why, and then support them in that as well. But I don't feel like you should feel the need to if you're not comfortable with doing that. Additionally, if someone you're working with is impacting your ability to do your job and having a negative effect on your happiness and or mental health in the workplace, you're not any less of a girl's girl for not supporting them. This is something that I am currently reminding myself quite regularly. Once again, depending on your position and relationship with this person, you may be able to provide some insight on how they are impacting you or resources to help them improve. But if you can't, you're still no less of a girl's girl. I know all the pick me chat has been a bit negative, so I want to bring the positivity back up and motivate us all as women to ride for each other. So let's do a 360 back to Brat. See what I did there? Because I think that album really encapsulates this idea of collective success and promotion of women. The song 360 with the line, I'm so Julia, is referencing Julia Fox and how supportive she is of other women. At least that's my interpretation, and I want to stick with it. So with this lyric, Charlie is not only saying that she is for other women, but is also shouting out another woman who was doing the same. In an interview Julia had on the Zach Sang show, she said the following about Charlie. She really actually supports women, and she supports unconventional women, women that society maybe looks at and is confused by. She's not confused. She sees the truth. People may be listening to me go on about this and thinking, relax, it's just a song. But I do think it's had a big impact on people's positivity online. And I think when something like this happens, it's so important that we harness it and take it away from the online space and bring it into our day-to-day lives and to the workforce and just ride this high, leveraging this momentum for greater inclusivity and collaboration. With the success of Brat, I know we're all dancing around the house, annoying our partners, families, and pets with our explanations of all the songs and how much they resonate with you. So instead of just cheering for Charlie and cheering for Harris and how they're influencing public discussions, harness that and actively advocate for it. Practice what you preach, instead of just going around the house singing Charlie likes boys, but she knows I'll hit it. That was a bad example. Maybe not that one. Maybe one of the more positive ones that doesn't have to do with. Anyway, you know what I mean. Impact of mindset and perceptions. My most recent obsession on the album has been Girl, So Confusing, because I just feel like the message there, particularly with Lord's verse included, is just so impactful and such a vulnerable, relatable moment that we've actually seen kind of play out in real time. For anyone who doesn't know, the original version of Girl So Confusing is about Charli XCX's perception of her relationship with Lorde and how she's uncertain whether Lorde even likes her. Since the song's release, Lorde and Charli have released a new version of the song, and Lorde has put her own verse in explaining the way she acted and disclosing her own insecurities, and that she had no idea how what she was doing was being perceived. Then at the end, they both talk about how they'll ride for each other. Warms my heart. I've experienced something very similar in a personal and professional capacity, and I know so many others have as well. Working in a male-dominated industry, there is an unspoken competitive nature between women. Not only are there not a lot of women in these industries, but there are even less women in leadership roles and being offered special opportunities. So it really feels like you're constantly being pitted against each other. Sometimes it can be challenging to truly support other women while also striving for your own success. This can then obviously cause you to draw certain conclusions about how others feel about you and how you act around them. The lyrics can't tell if you want to see me falling over and failing, and you can't tell how you're feeling. I think I know how you're feeling. And yeah, I don't know if you like me. Sometimes I think you might hate me. Sometimes I think I might hate you. Illustrate this feeling perfectly. And the way that our mindset and perceptions can work against us. I really struggled to speak those lyrics and not sing them. I don't know if you could tell. Anyway, I was reading an article that very succinctly explains all of this. As a woman pursuing an engineering degree, I feel threatened when there's other women in the room. It's not that I don't want her to succeed. I want all women to succeed, but I wish for my success more. The scarcity mindset ignites jealousy and competitiveness within minorities. In many fields, like the rap industry and engineering, women feel the need to compete to secure a position. But it's not the truth that matters. It's the false reality we conjure up because of the systems that work against us. I'm sure that we are all capable and qualified, but will there be enough space for all of us? That question and uncertainty are what create a competitive nature in me. Oofed. That hit me hard when I read that. But thankfully, while these thoughts and concerns sometimes still play on my mind, as I've gotten older and gained more life and workplace experience, I have learnt to make a conscious effort to silence those intrusive thoughts and stop seeing other women as my competition. I make sure to reinforce to myself that even if I'm not selected for a certain role, seeing another woman succeed in that role or get that opportunity is still a massive win, because promoting diversity and representation in the industry benefits everyone, regardless of who specifically achieves those milestones. Miss XCX is full of some amazing quotes, so I wanted to read out this next one that sheds some more light on the way us as women can interact sometimes. Relationships between women are super complex and multi-layered. You can like someone and dislike them at the same time. You can have the best time of your life on a night out with someone but not be that close to them at all. This reminds me of someone who I really enjoyed working with because she was very knowledgeable and organized, but I really struggled to hang out with outside of work in a personal setting because the conversations just never flowed that well, and I just felt like she would talk at me. Then there's also the situation where you might think someone is amazing and really cool and great at their job, but the competitiveness brings up resentment towards them and their success. Because of all of this, I think it's important that we all embrace the brat in us sometimes and be that girl who's honest, blunt, and a little bit volatile, to break down any misconceptions that can hinder women's progress in the workplace and be forthcoming with how we feel, to unpack these complex relationships that form between women so we can all sort it out on the remix. If you're enjoying this episode, it would mean the world to me if you liked the video, if you're watching on YouTube, or rate the show if you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much. Personal growth and reflection. I really wanted to touch on just how insanely important personal growth and reflection is, as actively demonstrated by Charlie. I referenced this before, but I recently realized that I was a pick-me. Back in high school, not the I put other girls down kind of pick-me, but the I play video games and drink Jack Daniels kind of pick-me, which is super cringy to look back on and acknowledge, but at the same time, it makes me quite proud of myself and my own personal journey in discovering who I am within, I suppose, the spectrum of femininity, if that's even a thing. And just rejecting the fact that I need approval from my male counterparts in order to succeed and in order to be impressive, I suppose. Something that has been really eye-opening to me is that a lot of the experiences you have at the workplace are what you make it. Obviously, sometimes you can't influence that. But if you're going through a shit period, the way that you address it, the way that you feel when you come out of it, and what you get out of the experience is really dictated by yourself. For example, for about a year or so, I had a manager that honestly wasn't that great, but I realized that a lot of what I was experiencing wasn't actually her fault. Like, yes, she was the one making the decisions and choosing the words that came out of her mouth, but she was given that role by someone and they just left her there without any resources or support, setting her up to fail from the start. Once I realized that, although she was still difficult to work with, I learned a lot about myself and I became a lot more tolerant, and the days became easier, still difficult, but easier. And then at the end of that whole experience, when I ended up moving to another project, I was able to reflect on what I had experienced and what I had learned. And I came out of it feeling like I had done the best that I could to help both of us. Now, I did speak to other managers about her because of the way it was impacting my ability to do my job and my happiness in the workplace. But it was never to bitch or anything. I was never going to anyone and bitching about her. It was to ask for advice or support. It's funny actually, because this is a great example of girls so confusing, because I actually thought that this manager of mine hated me. I thought she didn't like me at all based on things that she had said to me and the way she acted around me. I genuinely thought she hated me. But after I would hear feedback from other people that she had spoken to, that she just spoke so highly of me. And to this day, I do not understand how I misinterpreted that. Even recently, I was promoted to manager, and when she found out, she was so thrilled for me and telling everyone about how good of a manager I would be and that she thinks I'm more suited to being a manager than her. And I just keep asking myself, like, why didn't she tell me this? Like, our experience together could have been so different. So obviously the way I addressed certain situations. I did so in a positive way, which is my intent. And it's great to know that that's how it was perceived, because this also meant that, we didn't burn any bridges, and I don't have any ill feelings towards her at all. And I think that's a kind of amazing situation. I honestly think about it all the time. And ironically, I think it was one of the best experiences in terms of personal growth for me. Once again, Girl So Confusing just sums it up perfectly. I don't know if this happens to men, as I can only speak of my own experiences and the conversations I've had with my friends, but it's just so crazy the way that the female mind works, that we're constantly second guessing everything and create this narrative in our mind that someone doesn't like us because of the insecurities that we push upon ourselves and that society push upon us. It's so confusing sometimes to be a girl. Girl. Promoting inclusivity and equity. With the way that the internet is slowly taking over our lives, the current trends and news that we consume can impact our mood, motivations, goals, and even our opinions. This means that if we really want to promote inclusivity and equity in real life, we really need to harness the positive trends and the ones that empower us. The girl boss trend, for those who remember, had a massive impact 10 years ago or so. I know, I bought the book and I still have a weird attachment to it. Not exactly for its advice, but more so as a reminder of how things change, how I change. I see it every now and then and just have a little giggle to myself. Now the girl boss has been harnessed and embraced by the MLM girlies, and the princess treatment fans are ripping it to shreds, and then everyone else just finds it a bit cringe now. But I think it's obvious why the girl boss trend connected so much with me and obviously other women, because it was empowering, and as a woman pursuing work in construction, it gave me strength and confidence. So I pitched this. Brat is the new girl boss, but self-aware and self-deprecating without being grind set mindset, hashtag hustle adjacent. It's empowering but real. You can do dumb shit but still be smart as fuck. I can party and still be a top-notch manager. This is definitely not me projecting. I've mentioned this numerous times now, but I really find it amazing how an album with shitty but also revolutionary album art can lift my spirits and make me feel seen. Charlie and Harris are amazing and are building up women all around the world. But I think we really need to harness this and use it as a time to focus on the positive and motivating each other rather than focusing on everything that's wrong. It's still obviously important to focus on these issues, but rather than get caught up in them, let's work together to get over this weird hurdle with the rise of misogynistic, toxic masculinity, Project 2025 alpha male bullshit. I saw a video of someone asking, is Brat Summer dead? Mate, no. Stop chasing clicks and let's make Brat Summer last forever.